Welcome into this Monday morning episode of Pushing the Pile. Week 14, almost in the books here. The show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Mike Renner, JP Acosta, going to be rolling through all the games we saw yesterday. First, JP, I cannot get that stupid Coca-Cola holidays are coming commercial out of my head. It's AI slop. I can't believe Coca-Cola is making like a fully AI terrible commercial. But with YouTube TV, I feel like you see the same commercials again and again. It's not like, cable back in the day. You just get force-fed the same stuff. And I just can't. I keep saying I woke up and I said holidays are coming to myself. I don't know.
It's that, and then the Terry Crews
How much do you regret putting
commercial?
Drew Aller in that commercial?
I'm tired of it. They finally got Drew Aller out of that commercial because I bet like Drew Aller's got to feel like crap. Like, come on, man, you can't keep putting him in this commercial. I thought it was weird when they had him in the commercial, but now, like, especially, like, you can't keep having him in this commercial. So I'm tired of the Ram commercial. I'm tired of Terry Crews. Like, let's get some new ones in here.
I think all the marketing executives who were like, yeah, it's a good idea to give money to, Drew Aller, Arch Manning. And then these guys, like, they don't know how fickle college football fans are. They don't understand it. You put a guy like that in your commercial, by the end of the season, people could be like vowing to never buy your product again. That's the state of college football. It's not like the NFL where you have, where rivalries aren't as meaningful. It's like people hate these kids in college football. So I think they're making a mistake there. But
yeah, it's a little risky, but I do think there's some cool like college football like players of college commercials. Trinidad Shameless had one, yes. I think with AT&T that I thought was pretty cool. Like there's potential for it to be fun, but most of the time like you got like AT&T or like other big companies that don't really know how to like market to the group that's actually gonna care about these athletes.
All right, let's get to Sunday Night Football. Get off commercials for a sec. Where Texans take down the Chiefs in interesting fashion. They win 20-10. Big number from this one, 19.8. That was Patrick Mahomes' QBR from this game. Not only was the worst QBR in his career, obviously I think ESPN stat, it was so far and away the worst. His worst before this was 44.4. He goes 14 of 33 for 160 yards and 3 interceptions in this one.
This game felt like, if you've seen Cars 3, the beginning where Jackson Storm is telling Lightning McQueen, like, enjoy a happy retirement. And you can hear, like, as Lightning McQueen tries to push to keep up with the younger cars, you hear the announcer go, McQueen is fading. And then all of a sudden he pops a tire and he does the little flip injury that Doc Hudson had, or Strip Weathers, the King, had in the first Cars movie. That's what this game felt like. It felt like the Chiefs were kind of fading. It felt like all the stuff that we know works for the Chiefs, it wasn't working. First of all, they were horrible against man coverage in this game. They were awful. In this game, Patrick Mahomes went 3 for 11 in man coverage. That is for the lowest completions that he's had in man coverage in a single game this season. It's tied for the lowest actually with the Jaguars, but he had 27.3% completion percentage. He had 17 yards against man coverage. And he also threw a pick. So it's just like some of that magic, some of the Andy Reid scheming up against man coverage. That's how they beat the Texans last year. They knew how to find every answer against man coverage, and it just feels like some of that stuff just doesn't work now. And then on top of that, you had all the drops. You had it felt like the Texans just smothered everything that they did offensively. And it's sort of like we're seeing the end of something.
It did feel like that, especially the Kelsey drop to interception to Azeez Al-Shaair. It was like, that might be it. That felt like the nail in the coffin, and it felt like, we might not see Kelsey next year. This was a stretch to even see him this year, a lot of people thought. So, but it did feel like this team's just flat out not that good, unfortunately. I think is the big thing at the end of the day, with the offensive line injuries, with Mahomes having hampering a knee injury. They're just not that good right now. And so when, they do their usual, it's fourth down, the 2 fourth down conversions they attempted in the fourth quarter, 4th and 1 with 10:23 left at their own 31, a 4th and 4 with 5:31 left at their own 41. Neither didn't convert either. It's just like, the magic isn't there this year because the team just isn't there. Is what it feels like.
That go for it decision on 4th and 4 was, or not 4th and 4, 4th and 1 was the most batshit thing I think I've seen the Chiefs do. It felt desperate. Like that's what I said after I saw like, they're really desperate to try and go score now, which is crazy because I thought it was a bad decision. I thought they should have punted, even though like I am one of the most like, you should go for it on anything like 4th and under 5 yards. But with the way the Texans offense was going and way it was looking against the Chiefs defense, the fact that you went for it, and if you didn't get it, which they didn't, all the Texans needed was one good pass play and they're in field goal range. Or just like what the Texans did with a short field, they went down and scored a touchdown because you gave them a short field. I would have flipped the field. I would have forced them to move the ball, which the Texans really like. The whole offense was really sort of on and off for them against the Chiefs. I thought the Chiefs defense and Spags made some really nice adjustments and they kept them in the game. But if this Chiefs team feels desperate and they're running out of answers in areas where they used to have answers.
And it gets even worse because this, in terms of just like long-term outlook this season, because this is your competition right now. This is the team that you will have to take the tiebreaker against when it's all said and done. Texans now sitting at 8-5, Chiefs at 6-7. It's basically going to be your wild card of Chargers, Bills, Texans. Those are the 3 teams. Now, the Chargers could also be the one that you overtake because they have a difficult schedule, and we'll get to that a little later. But the Texans are your main competition for that last wild card spot now, and so you do not own the tiebreaker against them. I just don't see it happening this year. I don't see them crawling out of this hole now.
Yeah, I mean, even outside of the Texans, you don't own the tiebreaker against the Jaguars or the Bills either. So if for any reason like the Texans overtake the Jaguars and win the South, you don't have the tiebreaker over the Jaguars because you lost on the stumble bum play. So you've put yourself, if you're the Chiefs, in such a deep hole that, man, it's going to be really tough to get yourself out of. I think at this point, they have like a 50% chance of even making the playoffs, even if they win out. And that feels like odds that are too long, even for Patrick Mahomes, even for this version of the Chiefs. Like there's so much that needs to go right for them if they want to make the postseason that I just don't know if it's going to happen. Like it's
14% chance now the Athletic gives them to make the playoffs. 14%.
That's there. I've seen long shot odds. This is a long shot by any means. It just feels like some of the magic is sort of gone.
Let's get to the Texans for just a sec because they're up to now 93% chance to make the playoffs. They have the best defense in the NFL. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Is it good enough to pull off a 2015 Broncos-esque run through the playoffs?
I kind of think so, especially given the state of the AFC. I could argue that this team is the most dangerous team in the wild card or in the AFC because of that defense. And not only that, but it seems like they're trying to find their answers on offense. They're doing a lot more bootleg. They're getting CJ Stroud out of the pocket more. And it just looks like CJ Stroud is starting to make some plays that we used to see him do in his rookie year and in his second year, even despite all the problems they have offensively. There's one where he's rolling out against pressure. Chris Jones had him like 3 times and couldn't get him, which is another sign of the Chiefs sort of like falling apart. Chris Jones doesn't get the sack, but he makes a great throw to Nico Collins. There's another one where like he's staring down the barrel of a blitz. He makes another great pass to Nico. And there are just opportunities where like we said going into the season that the Texans to win games, we're going to have to rely on defense and CJ to Nico. That if you could get like 2 big plays from them in a game, you could probably pull off a win. And that's exactly what happened. But I think Woody Marks had a pretty good day running. His box score is not going to look as sexy. He had like 63 yards on 23 carries, but he ran really hard. He had some nice plays in blitz pickup. I thought Ed Ingram and Trent Brown had a great day on the right side running the football. Whenever they needed a big play, they run behind Ed Ingram and Trent Brown, which nobody would have expected for them going into the season. But you just keep getting good plays from your young guys. I think Woody Marks has stood out. Jaden Higgins has stood out. They're finding out what they are offensively. And as long as you can get to 17 points with that defense, it should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line's still not great. CJ Stroud was pressured on 51.4% of his dropbacks. But on the flip side, pressured Mahomes on 51.2%, and they only blitzed 3 times all day long.
The Texans might be the most like ethically and morally correct defense I've ever seen. Like, they're not going to disguise coverages. They're not going to send a blitz. They're lining up with 4 and forcing you to block them. They're going to play man coverage. You beat us. That is how real football is played. Yeah. You line it up, but put the ball out there. Let's see who's the better man.
They are the ultimate. Our guys are better than your guys' defense. And week in and week out, their guys are better than your guys. All right, let's take a break. After that, we got some big divisional matchups to hit right after this.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
No, that is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
Packers beat the Bears 28-21 in Lambeau. It had my butthole puckered. I will keep it real. That second half was a whew. But the big number from this one, I think, is 59%. That was the play action rate for Caleb Williams in this one. Basically, it didn't seem like I've gone back and forth on this, whether it was Ben Johnson didn't trust him in the drop back passing game, where on the day he went 5 of 13 for 42 yards, or if the game script was such that why not boot him? Why not utilize play action? Pretty much, like I said, 59% is an outlandish rate for a game that they trailed the entire time. Or if it was just like that was your best avenue of attacking this Packers defense. And it's hard to argue. Caleb is so dangerous on the move, so dangerous with space to work with, that why not? But man, it just, even the final 2-minute drive, it felt like they were doing anything possible to not drop back past that game.
I think it's more the Packers defense is really good, and instead of Ben Johnson not trusting Caleb Williams, it's more Ben Johnson not trusting Ozzie Trapilo at left tackle. It's more not trusting that offensive line. And you could tell when they tried to go drop back in this game, I think it was one of the first plays that they tried to go drop back in this game. It was 3rd down. Micah Parsons is lined up over Jonah Jackson, and it feels like Jonah Jackson is like watching a ghost. And Micah Parsons goes right past him, and Caleb has to escape the pocket, and he throws it away. So I think in this game, they had to do a lot of play action simply because that offensive line was not going to hold up in standard dropback situations. And Caleb Williams is a better athlete than I think a lot of people give him credit for. He was running away from a lot of Packers players. It's especially impressive given the speed that the Packers have on defense. But he was running away from a lot of guys. He was making things happen outside the pocket. So when you had that going, plus the offensive line looking the way it does in standard dropback situations, you might as well lean into what works. Lean into the ground game, lean into the play action, and just let Caleb Williams go out there and just do stuff.
Yeah, they really ground this one down in the second half. 90 rushing yards on 19 second half carries. And again, that was them down the entire second half. The 2-minute drill is interesting, though. That final play, as soon as he threw it, I said no. I thought it was going to be a touchdown, because to me, everything else in front of him was like a good option. So I'm like, if DeAndre Swift's a good option, if you running is a good option, I think DJ Moore was behind Swift in the flat, looked also like a good option. If all those were good options and you take the downfield one, I was like, oh, the downfield one must be wide, open. And I think it was for a split second. He was late to it. Keyshawn Nixon obviously made a good play, but that play by Caleb Williams, I think, was just an unforgivable mistake in that situation, in my opinion.
That's also the play that they scored the touchdown on against the Eagles, where they have everybody rolling to the left and they throw the big hero ball play to Cole Kmet. And I think Caleb Williams said after the game, he was trying to give Cole Kmet a chance to go make a big boy catch. Like, go put it up off the glass and let Cole Kmet come down with it like a rebound. The problem is he put too much air under it, and he underthrew it by a mile, which allowed Keyshawn Nixon to get back into the play. So I think if he put a little more air under it, that's a touchdown. But it's also like, it's great scouting by Keyshawn Nixon, and also one of the margins that you play with when you're constantly rolling outside the pocket, constantly making off-platform throws is sometimes you make it happen, sometimes it looks beautiful, and sometimes, like it ends like that. But I think for most of the game, when he was outside the pocket, he was making some really, really nice throws. There's still, again, I'm worried about the general inaccuracy, which I would hope to be fixed by this point in the season. I mean, we're in week 14 and we're still saying, oh, like Caleb's head's in the right place. He's just not accurate. But it feels like they're moving in the right direction. This game was physical. This game was tough. It was gritty. It feels like the Bears are moving in the right direction, but the Packers just have too many force multipliers on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see when the Bears get – and now Calvin Nunn behind that offensive line. He is one of my favorite running backs in the NFL to watch, but he's not a big play threat, so to speak. He's going to grind out those tough yardage. I'm curious to see what this offense looks like in the future when they do get a dynamic number one sort of running back behind it. But right now, this kind of – I don't want to say confirmed my priors, but this is kind of how I felt this game was going to go. I thought the Packers were the better football team, the better, more consistent offense, the better defense in terms of having more of a pass rush to affect the opposing quarterback. And yeah, the Bears had the much better running game, but if it got to a situation where Caleb had to fall on him, I trusted the Packers defense in that situation. And I think that's just kind of where this Bears team is in the pecking order right now of the NFC. I just don't think they are up there with Rams, Seahawks, Packers. Yeah, they beat the Eagles, but like, I just don't think they are in that echelon, that tier one, even if, they are still a very, very good football team this year.
And when we think about the Rams, Packers, Seahawks, even the Eagles, they also can get pass rush. They also can force your quarterback to play poorly.
That's my biggest thing. Yeah.
And in this game, to flip it to the Packers side, Jordan Love was awesome after that interception. Like on the interception, every interception that Jordan Love throws is the dumbest interception you'll ever see. But then after that interception, I think it kind of locked him in because he was shredding the Bears. And especially when they played man coverage, which was my biggest fear, was when Jordan Love would play again, when the Bears would play man coverage, when they would blitz because they can't get pass rush, Jordan Love would shred them. Against man coverage in this game, Jordan Love went 8 of 10 for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's unbelievable. That's one of the best numbers I've seen in a game this season. And it's also not even the best number that Jordan Love has put up this season against man coverage. When you look at how he plays against the blitz in this game, Jordan Love was also really, really good against the blitz. Jordan Love in this game was 8 of 11 for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns against the blitz. So every time the Bears blitzed, they played man coverage behind it. And every time it felt like Jordan Love would find answers. It feels like his command of the offense, like I've said this entire season, his command and his growth within the offense has been on display this entire season to where it feels like he has fully become like he owns the keys to this car of the offense. The Bo Melton touchdown was such great design and such great execution, but it's the Christian Watson one where they're bringing the house and Jordan Love signals to Christian Watson. I thought Tom Brady did a great job of saying, like, he's putting up a hand signal for Christian Watson to run the slant because you know what he's going to get. You know what they're going to get. So he throws that slant and he runs away from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for a touchdown. Those are the kind of plays you expect from one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. It's making your receivers, making your offense right, even when you don't have the right answers to start with.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with this year's Packers team. I don't think the defense of Mike Parsons is a huge difference. But to me, the biggest difference is Jordan Love's command. And especially of late, like here down the stretch, he has been and looked like a guy who can lead a, top 3 offense in the NFL. I think for stretches in the past, he did, 2 years ago, that final stretch of the season, but we just didn't see it last year whatsoever. I think this year, quite obviously, I think they are still the best passing attack in terms of EPA per dropback in the NFL. He has just looked, like I said, the command this year, and then the accuracy too. He's not missing near the throws he missed in past seasons. And now with Jaden Reed back, the full confidence really at his disposal every single play. Let's move on to your Jaguars smashing the Colts 36-19. What's your big number from this one, JP?
My big number is 0.38. That is Trevor Lawrence's EPA per play against the Colts. It is the best number he's had this season. The rain that we had in the Orlando, Claremont area tried to stop us yesterday. The rain is trying to stop us today, but it will not stop me from talking about this 9-4 Jacksonville Jaguars team. I thought they'd go 9-8 to start the season, and we're already at 9 wins, so this feels like a major win. But this game, to start with the Jaguar side of it, it felt like the best passing performance that I've seen from the Jaguars in at least a couple years. Like, they have fully grown. I think Trevor Lawrence's confidence is at an all-time high. And I think people mistook Liam Cohen telling Trevor Lawrence to let it rip, Liam Cohen sort of getting after Trevor Lawrence at the beginning of the season as, oh, Liam Cohen doesn't like Trevor Lawrence. Liam Cohen wants to trade Trevor Lawrence. No, he's lighting a fire under him. Like, Trevor Lawrence needed somebody to kind of light a fire under him, but also put that constant belief in him. And this game, you could fully see it, like, unleashed. Like, the completion percentage is not great looking, but you trade that off for just a bunch of explosives downfield. You had the slot fade to Brian Thomas Jr., where Travis Etienne picks up a great blitz. Trevor Lawrence drops it in the bucket, and Brian Thomas Jr. makes a beautiful catch in the rain. You have the one-handed Brian Thomas Jr. go route against Tarvarius Ward, also in the rain. You have the there's an out and up that he throws to Tim Patrick on the far side of the field. He drops it in a bucket. We were getting like full, like aggressive downfield, like trick shot thrower Trevor Lawrence in this game. And I think that's the type of player that you're sort of going to need from the Jaguars to beat those elite teams. You're going to have to try and get explosives, especially because the run game wasn't super effective to start the game. They loosened them up with the passing game. So it feels like everybody, since the Jacoby Myers trade, everybody's fit in so much better. You don't have Brian Thomas Jr. running as many like dig routes, in breaking routes. He's fully grown into his role as like I would call it like sort of the Mike Evans-ish role in this offense, where he is the outside vertical threat. You have Jacoby Myers doing everything over the middle. And since the Jacoby Myers trade, Trevor Lawrence is first in the NFL in success rate. Like, this offense has fully grown into a really fun, really dynamic unit. And I'm curious to see if they can just keep it up. If they can go into the postseason on a high note with this passing game, who knows what will happen?
Yeah, this felt like what Brian Thomas Jr.'s role is. The 2 deep shots, Trevor dropping those in the bucket. And it's transformed their ability to attack downfield. Because, you remember early on the season, he was like hadn't had a big time throw or had one big time throw through like 8 weeks, only had like 4 deep completions this first 6 games. Like they were not a downfield passing offense. Now, like if you unlock that aspect with how good their running game is, it's a scary football team. I mean, this game could not have gone better for the Jaguars. Unfortunately, could not have gone worse for the Colts on the flip side. That's kind of how that works. But the Daniel Jones injury, I remember, I feel bad about this. I remember joking, it was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, the funniest outcome for this season would be the Colts to go 8-9, 9-8 again and miss the playoffs after what started. And after that happened, I was like, not like this though. This is not how I was. Not how I thought it would be funny. This wasn't funny at all. Obviously, he was. You saw the emotion after the injury. It was, when you tear your Achilles, it's obvious. Out for the year. Riley Leonard, I think you saw there, is not going to operate to the same level that Daniel Jones was for this passing attack. And with their schedule down the stretch now, with going to the Seahawks, 49ers, Jaguars again, and then finishing at the Texans, they could be 7 straight very easily, because I don't think they're going to be favored in any of those games. 7 straight losses to end the season, 8-9 once again. I think this is stick a fork in the Indianapolis Colts after this. Yeah,
it sucks. It feels like they kind of speed ran the 2023 Jaguars, or I'd even say like they kind of speed ran the Saints last year. We're like, oh, the offense looks awesome. They're really like, they could be like a
actually the Saints kind of speed ran the Saints last year.
The Saints did the speed run version of it, but the Colts just, you could tell immediately after Daniel Jones went down, like you knew it wasn't Achilles because it was a non-contact. He wasn't touched. The Jaguars were blitzing, and it was after he threw the ball and he sort of just fell down like in video games, like you kind of just, the fall mechanics just are sort of weird. Like he just fell, and like I said, you could tell immediately. I struggle to figure out like why Daniel Jones was out there in the first place. Because again, fractured fibula in the other leg. So now you're talking about fractured fibula in, I believe it was the left leg.
Yes.
Achilles injury on the right leg. And again, I think the only reason that Daniel Jones was still out there was because Anthony Richardson broke an orbital like 2 months ago. And again, it just feels like everything sort of comes back to haunt this Colts team. Like Anthony Richardson breaking a bone in his face should not have mattered as much as it's going to finish the season, because now you have to play Riley Leonard a lot more than you actually wanted to. The Sauce Gardner trade is probably going to matter a lot more than it used to matter, because you thought you were going to make the playoffs, and now you're going to be sitting at 8-9, and you still might have quarterback questions, because I don't know how long the recovery period is going to be for Daniel Jones, who has to recover from, again, a fractured fibula and a torn Achilles at the same time. So it just feels like this team is sort of snake bitten, and like even the defense was not great even with Daniel Jones playing, but when he went out, the air left that side of the ball. Like there's nothing left for them.
They're picking 18th right now, obviously because they're on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. There's a very real shot, if they do finish 8-9, that picks ends up somewhere between 12 and 15. And, well, they gave it to the New York Jets. So that's tough. I mean, that is about as tough as it gets in terms of luck for a team. But I think you could stick a fork again in the Indianapolis Colts. All right, let's get to the AFC North matchup. Steelers at Ravens. Steelers win it 27-22. What's your big number from this one?
My big number is 4. That's how many completions Aaron Rodgers had, over 20 air yards in this game. It's also the most Aaron Rodgers has had in any game this season. Aaron Rodgers went 4 for 4 on throws of 20-plus air yards in this game. 2025, Aaron Rodgers had 4 completions over 20 air yards and ran for a touchdown. I think I'm done with this version of the Ravens. Like all that to say, I'm done with this version of the Baltimore Ravens. Even if they win the division and make the playoffs, which is still in play, I'm tired. I'm done with this team. Like this version of this team, they're just kind of soft. Like that was the biggest takeaway I had from both sides of the ball. Like they have no physicality, and for them to not be physical on both sides of the ball, especially on defense, where, that's where the Ravens, like, despite all the offensive fireworks, the Ravens pride themselves on defense. For the defense to be this poor at this stage, somebody's got to go at the end of the season. I don't know if it's John Harbaugh. I don't know. It'll probably be Zach Orr, but the Jalen Warren touchdown, where both Jalen Warren and Pat Freiermuth were both wide open.
Yes.
That feels like what the Baltimore Ravens are this season.
It's just not that good. And Lamar being superhuman for the vast majority of his career obviously makes everything else look better. He's not playing well himself. Like he's since coming back from that hamstring has just completely looked out of sorts. Just even as a passer, you'd think, yeah, that might limit him in the running game. He might not be the same guy. I don't know what it is. But the Ravens are 6-7 and a well-deserved 6-7. That's very indicative of the skill of this football team, in my opinion.
It feels like Lamar Jackson's still playing hurt. Like I just think he's still hurt. The hamstring is still clearly affecting him. I think he said like he's never really dealt with a hamstring injury like this before. And then you combine that with the knee injuries, the toe injuries, the missing all the practice. It just feels like this entire team is built on Lamar Jackson. If Lamar is not creating, if Lamar is not doing things out of structure, this entire operation falls apart. And because you don't have the great interior offensive line, like Andrew Voorhees has been bad, Daniel Falele has been bad. The worst thing you can do for a guy with a hamstring injury is get interior pressure because you're not seeing the speed that Lamar Jackson has as both a passer and a runner. Like there was a play in this game where he scrambles up the middle and slides like after 4 yards. That doesn't feel like a Lamar Jackson play. Like, it just feels like he's still unsure of himself on that leg. I'm curious, given the rest of their schedule, if they do lose this next game, do they just shut Lamar down? Because this season, like I said, they still might be able to win the division, but with a clearly less than 100% Lamar Jackson behind this offensive line and with this defense, I don't know if they're doing anything when they get to the playoffs, if they make the playoffs.
Oh, dude, soft tissue injuries really do live in the back of your head too. I had a pretty severe hamstring pull. I had a fully torn quad before, and the amount of times, like when I was like clean bill of health, I should be able to do everything, but I just mentally was just like didn't want to push the issue, didn't want to go full speed or do go full bore on that leg. Just like it's like 6 months for when I tore my quad. And it's just, it should have been back well before that, but it just doesn't mentally get back to you because of how much that catching feeling like is just kind of there in the back of your leg or in the back of your head. Steelers though, if Rodgers plays like this, and it's a big if, but when he's perfectly placing those go balls, and I don't think anyone in NFL history has more perfectly placed sideline go balls than him. I hope one day, actually, I don't hope one day AI is going to be able to tell us that, but I fear one day AI is going to be able to like tell us that those actual stats in like they'll be able to go back and watch all 22. It's probably like 3 years from now. We're going to have that. But when he's hitting those go balls, that will transform this offense. I mean, because we've talked about the average depth of target all season long, lowest in the NFL. But you can sustain it if there's that fear of the deep ball, if that still lives in the back of teams' heads. We'll see if it's going to take more than one game for teams to be afraid of it, but that needs to be more down the stretch. And I think the fact that the Steelers' backs against the wall is why you see Aaron breaking it out.
I'm still a little skeptical. I think this is more just
Oh,
the biggest thing was there wasn't a lot of pressure, which is again like the Ravens not being able to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks is a big issue. Aaron Rodgers felt like he had all day to throw, and if he doesn't feel like he's going to get touched, then yeah, he'll throw the ball downfield. But the problem is, that only happens when he feels like he's not going to get touched. If he feels like he's not going to get hit. We saw it in the Bengals game, the first Bengals game on Thursday Night Football. Bengals have one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL without Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, he's going to throw the ball downfield. There's nobody else there's nobody in the same area code as him. But when you don't, it's not even getting pressure. It's affecting Aaron Rodgers. You just have to make him feel like the pressure is close. Then he'll go back to the insane checkdowns all the time. So I feel like this is sort of just a one game thing. I'm happy to be wrong on that, but it just feels like the Steelers team, you can't really trust them. You never will be able to trust them. So I'm just gonna be I'll believe it when I see it.
Steelers now a 66% chance to make the playoffs after that win. Still not set in stone. These teams obviously play in a couple weeks. All right, we're going to take a quick break after that. Going to get to the rest of the slate.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, let's get to Bengals at Bills. Bills win 39-34 in what was a wild one. The big number from this one was 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That's all the time it took in terms of game time, from 7:33 left in the fourth quarter to 3:30 left in the fourth quarter, for the Bills to go from down 10 to up 11 in one of the wildest sequences of plays I can remember in a game this season. You had the 50-plus yard Josh Allen scramble touchdown. You had the Joe Burrow, what the hell was that, pick six to Christian Benford. And then you had Joe Burrow on the very next offensive play, throwing a pick to A.J. Epinesa that was tipped. And just like that, the Bills are basically eliminated the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Christian Benford pick six was cool as hell, too. It was awesome. It was just a great play by a corner coming on a blitz, which they used him a lot on. And he recognizes that Burrow is going to throw it, and he just jumps up, makes a great play. Jordan Phillips had a great play on the tip drill interception, where he bats the ball up in the air, and for a second, you see everybody on defense staring up out of the screen, and everybody is oh, that ball's going to come down. And Joe Burrow's trying to get to it. AJ Epinesa gets to it first. But this game, I think it was a game that the Bills needed to win, because that game was getting away from them really quickly. That the Bengals offense was moving the ball effectively and at will, even without T. Higgins, who had a concussion, came back, got another concussion, then also came back again. Which
Dude, that was another one.
Look, the concussion protocol in the NFL this season has been one of the biggest losers. What's happening here? But
completely missed a JJ McCarthy one a few weeks ago that was blatantly obvious, and then let him. What else could it have been?
The first time he goes down and he grabs his head, that should immediately be okay, let's get him out of the game and keep him out of the game. He comes back, and I'm are we sure about this? He gets another concussion, and then later in the game, he scores a touchdown dunking on Maxwell Hairston. And that is the most concussed touchdown, I think, of the season. Where I don't think he knows what happened. But I just think the Bills needed this game offensively to prove that they can come back against a team that will score with them, that will try and move the ball and try and keep putting points on the board. And again, it was another great performance by Josh Allen.
This game I felt like we should have been seeing this one in the playoffs. It sucks that Joe Burrow got hurt for most of the season, because we don't need to see Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers against this Bills team in the playoffs, right? That's not gonna end well. This would have been a much more exciting playoff game. Obviously, I don't think it completely eliminates the Bengals. I think there's still a world in where they can win the last four. The Ravens and the Steelers can lose a lot of their last four, but I think this puts it way out of reach. And I have to question Zach Taylor. I think it's a borderline fireable offense. Now, this obviously game is going to get, this wasn't the Bengals season whatsoever, but like I said, this felt like a playoff game. If this was a playoff game and he kicked the ball away with 2 minutes and 7 seconds left with one timeout, instead of doing an onside kick in that situation in the snow, like when the variance probably goes up in terms of onside kicks, your chance of recovering, I assume, skyrockets in those sort of weather conditions. I have no data to back this up. Just off the top of my head, it seems like that should be the case. And they kick it away knowing that best case scenario, they're getting the ball back with a minute 20 and no timeouts, probably deep in their own territory after punt. That's best case scenario right there. And then you have to score a touchdown. Whereas on the flip side, if you get the onside kick, sure, great. But you have to get a stop either way. From the onside kick position to where they're recovering, they're not going to kick a field goal in those conditions to try to make it an 8-point game. So you are kicking it away for max like 20 yards of field position. I don't even think it would have been that much. You're kicking it away for 20 yards of field position as opposed to giving yourself a chance of recovering an onside kick in that. That was inexcusable in my opinion. And if that was a more meaningful game in a more meaningful season, that is, in my opinion, a fireable sort of offense.
I still think it's a fireable offense, honestly. Like you could say, like, yeah, this team has been undermined by sort of Zach Taylor's coaching decisions, even without like the defense being the worst defense still. Like, I know, like we all say, like, this Bengals team should be in the playoffs, this, that, and the other. Offense is so good. Yeah, but then that means you have to see the Bengals defense, which is still one of the worst units in the NFL. I feel like the AFC North, instead of sending one team, should just put like an all-star team together. Like maybe if you take like the Browns defense and you take like the Bengals offense, if you combine the state of Ohio into one NFL team, maybe you could send that team to the playoffs instead of the Steelers or the Ravens. But let's get a different coach overall for if you're going to try and send the state of Ohio to the playoffs, because I don't want Zach Taylor leading that team into the playoffs. Maybe like a Mike Tomlin, like a single game Mike Tomlin scenario will be the coach for the AFC North. But I'm also sort of ready to be done with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like we've seen what happens like at their best. At their best, their defense still isn't enough to knock off the legit teams in the AFC. So at this point, like I'm good.
Geno Stone on that last Josh Allen scramble, it looked like Arch Manning's high school tape. I mean, Geno Stone is like a 5'10" wingspan. That's why he was, I think, undrafted. And it's just been one of the worst tackling safeties even since he became a starter. That was just a zero chance, like 0.0% chance of him finishing that play on Josh Allen, unfortunately.
I said Josh Allen runs like you remember that movie Cocaine Bear?
Yes.
Josh Allen runs like the Cocaine Bear.
Dude, I mean, you just knew as soon as he took off, you're like, shit, that's a first down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to Rams Cardinals, though we don't have to stay long. What's your Rams win 45-17, absolute blowout. What's your number from this one?
My number is 67.2%. The Rams' success rate in this game, which is the second highest single game success rate output of any team this season. Do you want to guess who the first is in terms of success rate?
67.2. What was the best one this season? Was it Lions against the Bears week 3?
It was not Lions against the Bears. The success rate was 68.3%. And it was, I'll give you a hint, it was in the first half of the season.
I'm trying to think of who really lit one up in the first half. Was it Cowboys against the Packers? No.
It was the Kansas City Chiefs against the Jaguars in the game that they lost.
Yeah, I would never would have guessed that.
They had a 68.3% success rate. Damn. The top 5 in terms of success rates, the Chiefs against the Jaguars lost. The Rams against the Cardinals from yesterday. The Seahawks against the Commanders had a 64.6% success rate. The 49ers lost 42-26 loss to the Rams, had a 61.7% success rate. And then I added number 6. The Panthers against the Cowboys had a 60.9% success rate. This Rams team is a house offensively. And when they have it all going, it's just so pretty to watch. They had the run game going in this one. Blake Corum had his best game as a pro. And then on top of that, like Matthew Stafford is just like he is dealing. And I know he might not win MVP because of how well Drake May is playing, but I do think we got to give it like a Still Got It award, because that's Matthew Stafford this season. Puka Nacua going up and dunking on guys. Like, I wonder, like, I don't know if he's number 1, but Puka Nacua has to be one of the best finishers through contact in the NFL. Like, for a guy that's his size, like the body control, the fluidity on the sideline, he catches every contested situation. Like, everything is his. Like, the touchdown over Will Johnson where he just, like, he mosses him. Like, he goes up and dunks on Will Johnson, and that's not a bad player. Like, Will Johnson's been really good for the Cardinals, and he just goes up over him and gets it. There are sideline grabs from this game. Like, him becoming this from being a 5th-round pick, like, it is one of the most impressive things I've seen in the NFL.
It really is. And I think a lot of people, including myself, were slow to believe because Matt Stafford's kind of the kingmaker, right? If you're the only guy in a Matt Stafford offense, you're going to go for 1,200 yards. It's just like, that's a fact. I think he's even since that rookie season added some layers and levels to his game that he didn't even have then. And you're just seeing improvement year on year, where if you're not a believer now, if you still think he's, a product of the system, I can't help you. On the flip side, though, this Arizona Cardinals team, the defense isn't banged up. The defense isn't the one that's down their starting quarterback and their starting wide receiver, right? It's a little banged up. Everyone is at this point in the season, but is Jonathan Gannon in danger of losing his job the way kind of, if it goes really south like this, blowouts here down the stretch?
100%. And again, like, as someone who is very high on the Cardinals going into this season, I think he is coaching for his job to finish out this season. Like, this felt like a Cardinals team that had they didn't have a lot of effort. Like, they kind of rolled over in this game. And because of how they rolled over, it's just tough for you to consider, like, hey, maybe Jonathan Gannon should still coach them, because even teams that have little to no hope of making the playoffs, they still play with effort. And it just feels like this Cardinals team is sort of given up a little bit, given all the injuries. I do think, like, Michael Wilson has still played really well since Kyler's gone down. I don't think there's anybody that's benefited more than Michael Wilson outside of maybe Trey McBride. But this defense falling apart the way it did. Of course, the Rams offense, like we said, is a house, but they offered no resistance. And it sucks because I think Nick Rawlis is a really good defensive coordinator. Like, if Jonathan Gannon does get fired, Nick Ross is going to get hired somewhere, and that defense is going to be really good. So it just sucks. But yeah, I think the Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon are coaching for their jobs.
Gannon 4-13 his first year, 8-9 then last year, and now 3-10. Yeah, they lost Kyler Murray, but like, it ain't just that. This was going south before that. Let's get to Seahawks at Falcons. Seahawks roll 37-9. I thought for sure the under was hitting, though, after the first half, where it was 6-6 at halftime. This game got away from the Falcons in the second half. Big number from this one, 11.1. That's the Seahawks point differential, average point differential this season. If that continues, obviously, that is a 187 point differential in the season. A far cry from the number one ever. New England Patriots were plus 315 back in 2007. Do you know what the best team has been since then, though? Since 2007, the best point differential for an entire season, what it was?
If I had to guess, was it like those early? Well, it probably wasn't the early, like, Dream Team Eagles with, like, Deshaun Jackson, Michael Vick. I don't think it was them, but
no.
I'm gonna say I'm going to say it was one of the early Mahomes Chiefs teams.
It was the 2019 Baltimore Ravens. Have the best since then.
That tracks. That makes sense. Yeah.
249. I forgot how much of a house that team was. But Seahawks obviously still far cry from that, but they are them and the Rams. They just feel like that's what you do when you face underpowered football teams. You just make it so that the fourth quarter is a joke.
The Seahawks defense, once they realize like, oh, we're playing Kirk Cousins, they teed off on him, man. Like this Seahawks defense, like it feels like the Seahawks, Rams, Broncos, and Texans are all fighting for the number one defense in the NFL. And not even throw the Eagles and Packers in there. Like they're all fighting for number one defense in the NFL. And every week, each defense has like a performance where I'm like, oh, that's the best defense in the NFL. But Nick Emmanwori was like, that was the full expectation of what you thought you would get at this point in the season with Mike Macdonald and this defense. Because Mike Macdonald's defenses have always gotten better as the season's gone on. And it feels like Nick Emmanwori has gotten better as the season has gone on. He is making a defensive rookie of the year case. He has been incredibly strong the last few weeks. The sack he had it's so cool. He's just such a cool player because he's so big, he's physical, he can match tight ends in the passing game. Like he truly can do everything in this defense, and it allows them for them to be versatile to the point where you can have Devin Witherspoon on the outside, you can have Devin Witherspoon playing dime. When they go to like nickel personnel, you can have Emmanwori playing linebacker. There's just so many things you can do with a guy that's playing at the level of Emmanwori right now, and it just makes this defense, again, they're just a house. They're a house on defense.
The block kick he had too was sick. I mean, that was just
insane.
Unless you are, 6'3" with a 6'8" wingspan and have a 11-foot broad jump and a 4.36, you just can't do what he did. That was a pure physical marvel. There was no sugarcoated. That was just like a guy who is a different cat and can do things like that others can't. The Falcons are sad though right now. They are giving the Los Angeles Rams, the number 9 overall pick right now at 4-9. There is a bevy. There are 5 teams sitting at 3-10. So if any of them, if the Commanders, Jets, or Cardinals win another game this season, the Rams pick will jump over them. So it looks pretty safe bet to say that will be a top 10 pick at this point in time that the Rams will be receiving for the James Pierce trade.
I hate to keep going back on it, but they traded their first round pick for James Pierce.
Yeah.
And like, again, James Pierce can become a great player and this will look great. But you traded for a designated pass rusher in a year where you thought you were going to make the playoffs and ended up with 2 injured quarterbacks and more questions than answers than you have. It feels like Raheem Morris is probably going to be out. It feels like Terry Fontenot also might be out. Now with that question of bringing in new coach, new GM, what do you do to make this team better? Because you have a question you have with Kyle Pitts, you have potentially another quarterback issue. The Falcons feel like they've been sitting at this crossroad ever since Matt Ryan left.
Yeah.
And they haven't made a move yet. You got to make a move now. This year has to be the one where you fully declare like what you were trying to do. And it starts with the GM and head coach hiring if Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot do end up being fired.
It's just hard to see Terry Fontenot surviving this. Raheem, hand dude's dealt, whatever. So you can make excuse for that. But Terry Fontenot and his side of the ball, the defense has actually been the better side of the ball this season. But Terry Fontenot is just like too many big swings that are swings and misses that struck out. And you can't keep striking out and missing the playoffs, especially when you are in the most makeable playoff division probably in football. Speaking of, let's get to the Saints at Bucs. Saints win 24-20. They break the streak. We talked about in the preview. They hadn't scored more than 21 points all season. They scored 24, but 21 would have been enough here. It was a rainy one. It was an ugly one, but the Saints win.
My number for this game is 25th. That's the Bucs offensive rank and success rate since week 10. If you want to use EPA, if that's your thing, if you like using EPA per play, the Bucs are 23rd in EPA per play since week 10. It's time for some legit soul searching for this Bucs offense and for this Bucs team. It feels like they're sort of doing the whole graph of the more you F around, the more you find out. The Bucs are effing around a lot. And the Panthers, of course, they are still the Panthers, but they're right there. And you have 2 games against the Panthers to end this season. Do not F around with this team or you will lose the division. I think offensively is where I had the most issues with them. And it's sort of just kind of what we said. In the first half of the season, we were like, oh, this Bucs offense is great. And they haven't been healthy yet. They're still not healthy. And now it feels like not having Mike Evans is taking on a much, much bigger, not having Mike Evans has been a bigger problem than it really ever has, because you don't have anybody on the outside that can win. So that forces you into doing all this middle of the field stuff, but you can't really do all the middle of the field stuff because there have been general inaccuracies from Baker Mayfield. There have been drops from the receivers. And I overall just think Liam Cohen is not walking back through that door. Josh Grizzard is not Liam Cohen. And I think they're finding out the effects of losing a great offensive coordinator this season. It's something that they really haven't had to do for the last couple of years. So it just feels like this offense is struggling to find answers. And in this game, they didn't have Tristan Wirfs. They didn't have Mike Evans, which I can of course you want to hold a caveat for that. They didn't have 2 of their best offensive players. But you haven't had Mike Evans for a long time, and the offense has still been bad. You're on the verge of missing the playoffs, and if you try and rush Mike Evans back, that I don't know if that's going to be helpful as well. So they're just in a really rough spot.
Baker splits this year with Mike Evans 0.127 EPA per play, without Mike Evans 0.014.
Oh,
that's going from 13th in the NFL to 25th.
My God.
That's a massive, massive difference. And Emeka Egbuka's numbers, I feel like I update this weekly, but this game, 2 of 9 targets for 15 yards when thrown to Emeka Egbuka. He had 1 completion 10 plus yards down the football field, and it was a 12-yard gain. It was raining. It wasn't great weather, but Big Shot, strong arm. He's got big hands. That's not a guy who should theoretically struggle. It's not Tua, right? Shouldn't struggle in conditions. That was terrible. That's just it. That was the Bucs make the playoffs. The Bucs miss the playoffs. They got what they deserve. They are not a good football team right now. They just flat out aren't.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say this team is a playoff caliber one, especially given what they've looked like lately. But again, you got a chance. You got 2 games against the Panthers to finish out the season. You need to go. If you're a playoff team, you go win those games. And likewise for Carolina, if you're a playoff team, you go beat a Bucs team that has never been healthy this season.
All right, let's take a quick break. After that, going to get to some of the rougher ones here down the stretch. Coming up next.
Critics agree Landman is a hit.
We roll the dice one last time.
Men die. Oil companies don't.
Broncos at Raiders. Broncos win 24-17. The big number from this one, yet another 1-score win for the Broncos. It really wasn't.
Can we talk about that field goal? That was the most cowardly field goal I think I've ever seen. Are you kicking a game-ending field goal to make it look like a 1-score loss? Pete Carroll, I see you. You cannot trick me. What are we doing here? I was like,
it was for this stat. They wanted me to bring up this stat on the show.
Pete Carroll made a deal with Sean Payton before the game. We are going to get you a 1-score win to make the record look good. We're gonna make sure your stats look good for pushing the pile.
9-2 in 1-score games, because this technically was one. It really wasn't. They were up 24-7 with 3:56 left in the fourth quarter. And it ended up being a 1-score. Not really much to talk about. Like I said, I said they should cover 8.5 in the preview show if they're a good team. They basically did. They handled the Raiders in this one. Kenny Pickett comes in garbage time, throws some touchdowns, but Geno with the little hand injury comes out. Is it over? Is it one and done for Geno in Vegas, or do they give him next year and say, we're going to give you a new staff, new OC, maybe some more weapons, maybe a better offensive line, and hope that he can recapture some of the magic he had in Seattle?
I don't think it's over for Geno Smith in Vegas, but I do think it's over for him as a franchise quarterback. I think he will be in Vegas as the bridge to the next guy, because it wasn't just a hand injury, it was a shoulder injury. And those things, when you're 34 years old, it starts to creep up on you. So I do think it's over for him as a franchise quarterback, as a genuine plus starter. But I do think they're going to have to keep him around for whatever young guy they bring in the draft to sort of be the bridge to not force your young quarterback to have to play at the beginning of the season behind what might still be a very bad offensive line.
Yeah, I looking at how his contract's set up, I'm fairly certain he will be there next year, because it's only a $26.5 million cap hit, and they only get $8 million cap savings to part ways with them. So no harm, no foul. And then the next year after that, they can get rid of them. No cap hit, no dead money. So basically, it's one more year of Geno, regardless of who's there. And then that's probably it for him as a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Or that might be it for him next year. They might bring in someone to replace him. We'll see. Speaking of franchise quarterbacks, the Titans at Browns. Titans win 31-29. The big number from this one, it's 3-4. That's where the Titans and Browns are now currently picking after the Titans played their way out of the number 1 overall pick with that win.
Hey man, this is an awesome Shador game. This was pretty cool.
It was so good. It was
a great game. It was phenomenal. The Harold Fannin touchdown to bring them within 2 points, beautiful throw. And Harold Fannin went up, and Harold Fannin is awesome. Very quietly, because
6th in the NFL in receiving yards.
Yeah, because of how bad the Browns are, it's gone under stated. Harold Fannin has been incredible for them. He is awesome. Awesome player. Shador looked really good. He looked confident. And it's like what I was saying about Shador Sanders in the pre-draft process. When it's clean, when the pocket is clean for him, he can make some throws. The Jerry Jeudy touchdown was an awesome throw. There was a lot of really fun stuff he put on tape. Of course, there was an interception. There's still some things that are a little rough around the edges, but he looks pretty good. I mean, I would say you're going to give him the rest of the season as the starter. I still think they're probably going to draft a quarterback, which makes sense. But I wouldn't mind seeing some more Shador Sanders as a starter, whether if it's in Cleveland or if it's somewhere else. I wouldn't mind seeing him get some more shots as a starter. I thought this was Tony Pollard's best game as a Titan. A lot of explosive runs. I thought Cam Ward struggled against this defense as a passing unit, obviously. Myles Garrett gets one step closer to the sack record. But the throwaway where he put Grant Delpit in the dirt was really cool. That was awesome. That was it was an incompletion on the stat sheet, but if you go watch it, that's sort of what Cam Ward has been for the Titans this season. There have been free runners. There was a play where he checked into a beautiful seam route, and I don't remember who the receiver was, but he dropped it, and it's just let's get some real receiving weapons around Cam Ward and see what happens.
Yeah, it's this game. Obviously, a lot of people came away saying, "Did they make the wrong pick?" A lot of Shador fans, beating their chest even though they lost, because Cam Ward goes 14-28, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also a pick. Little different defense he was going against. Just a smidge different defense he was going against there with the Cleveland Browns. But Shador, that's not take away from Shador. I thought this was, if you are encouraged or want to be encouraged about the long-term prospects of a franchise quarterback in Cleveland right now, this was the most encouraged you can be all season. He had some very nice throws. He had a sideline ball to Fannin earlier in the game. That was a great pass. I think it was like a seam fade. He had a number of downfield passes. He evaded pressure really well. I thought he stood in and delivered under pressure, which I thought was a really underrated part of his game at Colorado. He did take a bunch of sacks, but he also was willing to throw which is, I think, the one thing that separated him from a lot of the guys that take a lot of sacks. A lot of Justin Fields doesn't do that stuff. He takes a lot of sacks, but also it's because he tries to break pockets a lot and tries to scramble a route. That's not really Shedeur. He takes a lot of sacks because he'll hold on to the bitter end for a lot of plays, but also to the bitter end, he'll be making plays too. He'll be trying to throw the ball down the football field too. So I think you saw that the most in this game was that ability to deliver when things around him weren't great.
It's translatable. I think, like I said, the fact that he's standing in under pressure and throwing the ball, he's throwing accurate passes downfield. That's something that, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing him as a starter, whether it be for the Browns, whether it be for anybody else. I would like to see more Shedeur Sanders starting reps in 2026.
All right, Dolphins 34, Jets 10. The Dolphins now tied with the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-7, both on the outside looking in the playoff picture, but they are cooking. One of the hottest teams in the NFL, winners of 4 straight now. At least the hottest of any team not currently slated to make the playoffs. Only the Texans, Patriots, and Broncos have longer winning streaks. I'll be honest, I flipped this one off after Tyrod got hurt and we had Brady Cook in the game. I watched Brady Cook in the pre-draft process, watched him at Missouri, and that was enough for me. I was good. That was enough Brady Cook. But they win this one, and now my big number, they've allowed 13.25 points per game over the last 4, the Miami Dolphins have. Their defensive turnaround has quietly been what's fueling this resurgence into the playoff picture for Miami.
I think they've had a really good year defensively, especially as of late. I do think over the last 4 games, they have played – well, they played Buffalo. They got to win over Buffalo in those last 4 games. But they played the Jaden Daniels-less Washington Commanders, the Saints, and then the Jets. So we're going to find out – we're going to find out what this I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're going to find out what this team is on Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who thought of this? Who did this? The fact that the Dolphins are sitting there at 6-7 with the Ravens and the Chiefs feels like a statistical error. I made the meme of Tiger Woods and John Daly. And it's the Chiefs are Tiger Woods sitting at 6-7, and John Daly is the Dolphins sitting at 6-7. The Dolphins 6-7 is oh, sick. We're right back in it. We are so close to the playoffs. We're still in the hunt. While Chiefs and Ravens 6-7 is sky is falling. Everybody's going down. This is the worst season ever. Fire Andy Reid. Fire John Harbaugh. And the Dolphins are hey man, I'm just happy to be here. But I do think there have been some translatable, some legit things that you can take away. Like you said, the defense has been good. The run game has been really efficient. And, this team's playing with a lot of confidence. I don't know if it's going to result in a playoff bid because the AFC towards the bottom is really rough, but who knows? Who knows what will happen?
All right, so the Dolphins' schedule going forward is at the Steelers, home against the Bengals, home against the Bucs, at the Patriots week 18. Could be a meaningless one. Who knows? Chiefs' schedule going forward is home against the Chargers, at the Titans, home against the Broncos, at the Raiders. Who ends up with more wins right now, Chiefs or Dolphins?
I think it might be the Dolphins.
Let's go.
I think it might be the Dolphins. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, the Infirmary Bucks, and the Patriots at week 18. Well, they'll probably already have a playoff berth locked up. Hey,
I think they end up above 500. I think they get to 9 wins at least.
The Dolphins going from what was it mid-season after the Ravens game, they were 2-7 after the Ravens game. Or no, they were 2-8 after the Ravens game. If they finish this season at 9-8 while doing the inverse of the Colts, who started 8-2 and finished 8-9, this season's awesome. This season's incredible. I think this is amazing. The Dolphins sort of just flipping their season around. And again, we talked about if Mike McDaniel's going to be coach of this team next year. I think he is, because they're building something. They're not giving up. Like we talked about with the Cardinals and how they sort of just rolled over. The Dolphins aren't rolling over. The Dolphins are still competitive. So I think that matters a lot.
All right, last game here. Vikings beat the Commanders at home 31-0, a week after they themselves got shut out 26-0. The big number from this one has to be, if you're a Vikings fan, 0.39. As the EPA per play from J.J. McCarthy, a career high. He shredded a Commanders defense that, well, everyone has seemingly shredded this season. But, hey, you got to shred the bad ones before you can shred the good ones. So good on 9.
So I do think there's a little bit of the with JJ McCarthy, he did also only throw like 13 passes while the game was close. They did not want
Don't worry about the details. Just 0.39 EPA per play. Come on.
Hey, 0.39 EPA per play looks amazing. That's what we take. That's what we take to the bank. They don't ask how.
Right? He didn't throw one.
Hey, you know what?
We hang our hat on.
He kept 9 in check. Fairs. Like that, fair play. 9 was not in. This was a JJ game. But I still man, this Commanders team is awful. It is truly horrendous football, horrendous vibes. And now Zach Ertz torn ACL, Jaden Daniels busted elbow again. Is this it for Dan Quinn? And I think that's a very valid question to ask, given how bad the defense has been, which is supposed to be his thing, and given the fact that this team, JJ McCarthy and the Bengals are not big. JJ McCarthy and the Vikings are not a good offense, and they just scored 31 points. Like at some point, something's got to give.
They're currently slated to draft 6th. They've lost 8 straight games. I get that you were in the championship game last year and that the start of the Dan Quinn era was great, but you can't have this big of a turnaround year on year and have that side of the ball, that's your side of the ball, be this big of a disaster and expect to keep your job. Now, here's the rub, though. It's like, I don't think you want to lose Cliff Kingsbury, right? Like you objectively, when Jaden Daniels is healthy, Cliff Kingsbury is one of the best offense coordinators in terms of his offense suited for Jaden Daniels' strengths. Now, it's not as if he can't run other stuff. I still, he is a franchise quarterback. He's an elite quarterback when healthy. But that is how you would set up a passing offense. That's why, again, they went to the NFC Championship game last year, because it's very difficult to stop. But if you lose Dan Quinn, do you promote from within Cliff Kingsbury, or do you just try to ride out more Dan Quinn to hope you keep Cliff Kingsbury around?
I sort of think they promote him, but the thing for me with Cliff is Cliff isn't that good of a head coach. I think he's a great offensive coordinator. And does Cliff even want to do that? Like some offensive coordinators are just cool sitting there drawing plays. It's like Spags and Todd Monken, like those guys don't need head coaching jobs. They can draw up different variations of cool blitzes and cool run designs. Like maybe Cliff Kingsbury just wants to be that. And if he does, then I think it's priority that you keep him around for whoever is the next head coach. But I do think there needs to be some new ideas within this roster, within this team building, because Dan Quinn took over the defense and then immediately gave up 31 points. Like Dan Quinn has not had a good defense since maybe 2015.
I do think the Jaden Daniels injury thing, though, is terrifying if you're a Commanders fan. From all the things you take away from this, Dan Quinn's defense, whatever, all that, it really pales in comparison to the fact that he has 4 separate injuries this year now. This is a re-injury, but like 4 different occasions of things happening that have caused him to miss time. That is an insanely high. Like that is crazy. That's like what running backs, that's a position you would expect that at, not quarterback. He had, one more during his rookie season. So now 5 different occasions have caused him, 5 different things have caused him to miss time. We're not even 2 full seasons into his career. And knock on wood, thankfully none have been serious injuries. But this was the worry. You would be kidding yourself if you didn't think that a 6'5", 200-pound quarterback who craved contact in the open field wouldn't be an injury risk at the NFL level. And if you're a Commanders fan, all you care about right now is just, can we not keep getting him hurt?
Yeah, you gotta keep him out of harm's way. And Jayden Daniels also has to be a little better. Some of the stuff, like him falling and hurting his elbow on the pick for Andrew Van Ginkel, which again, like Andrew Van Ginkel is one of the best. We have to have like awards for players who are really good at like one specific set of playing the game. Like Andrew Van Ginkel is the best in the world at tip screen pass interceptions or batting screen passes. Yeah. We need other like awards or other things for like players who are specifically good at one skill in the NFL. Like we need more like we need more like awards, prestige for those guys. But Jayden falling down, hurting his elbow, like some of that's sort of like a freak injury. Like that doesn't happen often, but it's the fact that it's always the nagging injuries. It's it. Like Jayden Daniels got hurt, came back, got hurt, came back. Like it's the nagging stuff. That sort of scares you.
Yeah. Commander season though. Tough. 6th overall pick they currently hold, and I don't know if they win another game at this rate. All right. That's your week 14. We got Eagles Chargers tonight, the Monsters Inc. game. We'll break that all down tomorrow on the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing.